Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today. And though you've come through many obstacles.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction, a donation reward reaction to American History X. This is a donation reward for Smurf Logs. Thank you once again, Smurf. And so this apparently is a very, I guess, controversial movie, because apparently it's really offensive. Like, purposefully so. This movie, from everything I've heard, is like very purposely offensive. It goes very hard. And this is stuff I knew even well in the past, because it's a movie I had heard of before. I don't know like what the actual plot of it is, but it's one of those movies that is like, I guess you could consider it a satire in a way, where it's trying to specifically send a message, where it's specifically trying to give commentary on how things are. And again, that's pretty much all I know about it. So I'm interested to see what more this is. And I want to make clear, like, I'm not afraid of movies that are purposefully offensive, or ones that are, you know, gonna use like uncomfortably bad language and slurs and stuff and everything, as long as it's made clear like that's the point, it's supposed to be like that and everything. And even if it's an older movie that sometimes uses that kind of stuff, it's like, if you want to request it, just request it. I'm willing to watch anything. I understand that in some cases there were a lot of movies and a lot of things from past years and past decades and stuff where it's just like, oh yeah, there's gonna be offensive speech in there. It doesn't make it right, but I'm still okay with seeing it, even if just to see like what kind of things people were saying and all back in those days. Just if for no other reason than to know what not to do myself. But yeah, it's like, if you're worried about like requesting something that has offensive stuff like this, and don't worry about it. I'm fine with checking out pretty much anything. So never let that be a concern. But yeah, like I said, I don't really know what to expect with this outside of that. I don't know like who to expect to see in this. I don't know what the actual plot of this is about. Again, it's one of those things that I've just heard of and don't really know much about. But I'm definitely interested. I'm definitely willing to give it a chance and see what it's like. And so hopefully I end up enjoying it. Even if it is really hard to sit through certain things. We'll see. We'll see. We'll judge after we get to it. But let us do that. Let's just get to it. So, when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the movie. So, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So I looked up Edward Norton because I wanted to see, like, what else do I know him from? He's in Fight Club. I have not seen that yet, but he is in that. He's in the Grand Budapest Motel, actually, which we reacted to. Red Dragon, which we reacted to. I don't remember who he plays in that. Incredible Hulk. Apparently he was in Birdman, the Michael Keaton movie, but I haven't seen that. Who's he in Red Dragon? Oh yeah, he was the FBI agent. That's right. I forgot about that. He's been in various things I've seen. And I know that Edward Norton is pretty consistently praised for his acting ability. And I've liked him in a lot of these roles I've seen. I liked him in Red Dragon. I liked him in Death to Smoochie. I liked him in The Incredible Hulk. Um, I think, at least of what I've seen, I think this was his best role. Um, just in terms of just pure acting ability, I think this was his best role. He sold the character extremely well, both the highs and lows, both the good aspects in the latter half of it, and the really fucking bad aspects, which you kind of it's kind of a mixed feeling seeing him portray such a absolutely fucking horrible Nazi skinhead that well. It's really kind of upsetting that he plays that role so well, but he does. um and conflicting views, I feel, is how I just felt about the what was clearly a redemption story in this. Um, because this movie is about Derek's turn from a neo-Nazi white supremacist actively taking part in this cult, actively having killed people just because they were black. And I mean, mind you, they were going after his car, but still, it's like, as was made clear through his sentence, his response did not fit the crime. He definitely took things too far. He definitely took things way too far, considering the curb stomping, the shooting, and everything. Um, and that ending really did not go where I was thinking. Like, everything was like telling us, like, oh, we're gonna have Derek die. It's going to like give the message about how all this is wrong, and that's gonna further Danny's future and show him how wrong everything was, as much more so. And probably the paper would go on to reflect that and everything. And there was even a lot of setup for this. There was setup with the neo-Nazi cult that he disavowed. There was setup with that car that was stalking around his house. There was setup for that. And nothing came of it. It was literally to, honestly, to throw us off. All that setup to where Derek would have died was to throw us off so that the ending would be a surprise twist. And in that regard, it worked. Because there was kind of a setup for that too, even though, again, the action, the retributive, the action the other kid took did not fit the crime. Like all, or the perceived crime. Nothing Danny did there was warranting being shot. Like, even when they left, like the kid who shot him in the end was like, he was saying like, oh, if the bell didn't ring, like, I would have kicked your ass and stuff. And like, I figured that he might come in here to confront him or even beat him up, but I didn't expect that. It just seemed like an extreme reaction, and I think that was the point, because it kind of mirrors the extreme reaction that Derek took against those people who were fucking up the car. I feel that's the point. And like I said, I'm conflicted on my overall feeling about the redemption, because, again, while the trauma of it all in the prison did help it feel more realistic in that regard, having it only, like, really occur over the course of a year, his last year in prison, just it's a little bit much to believe that he changed that drastically that quick. The trauma is definitely what helps it. The trauma of being raped in the prison shower and everything. That makes it a little more believable, but it's a little much. But and then again, with how absolutely fucking despisable, rightly so, that Nazism and Nazis themselves are, it's hard to get behind a story of redemption in that regard, because Nazis are one of the worst, if not the worst, group of people on this planet in its history. They are that absolutely despisable. Whether the original group that served under Hitler directly or neo-Nazis who have since just carried on those kinds of beliefs. They are absolute fucking scum, and honestly, I would love to see them all put in prison for life at the absolute nicest. But I've always said, and I've always believed, that anyone can be given a second chance, even the worst of the worst. It is unquestionable how bad the Nazis are. It's not debatable. But at the same time, if they truly try to turn themselves around, if they truly, authentically want to make a better life for themselves and want to be better people, they should be given that right. Because people who at one point or another were that bad, if they truly changed their ways, they could be used for so much good. They could do so much good in their lives. And to help stop that for future generations, like Derek was doing with his brother. He saved Danny, even if in the end Danny did die, he was killed because of those actions, because of the Nazism and the racist ideals that he carried because of Derek's influence. He saved Danny as a person before that happened. And he will always have that. He will always have that. It's really sad and really unfortunate that Danny had to die in the end, though. And, like I said, I do believe in second chances, even third chances, if the opportunity truly is, again, authentic. Because, as I've stated in the past, I kind of have to because of my own story. Because of the terrible things I used to think and spout and all through just how I was raised and the influences in my life. Being extremely homophobic, being transphobic and xenophobic, and even to a small degree racist. Influences in my life, well, they did what they do. They influenced me. And for a long time, I couldn't see why it was wrong. People called me out on it, and I could not see, because it's what I was brought up into, thinking. Luckily, those people kept confronting me about it, and eventually I was able to turn my life around. I was able to become better. And it helped me discover a lot about myself. I was transphobic, and since turning my life around, I discovered I am trans. Same with homophobia and discovering that I'm pansexual. And it's just like, it's helped me be a better person. And that's the biggest thing. And I want to be able to share that. I want to be able to share that just second and third and all the chances that I got. Because people did that for me, and I want to be able to do that for others. But it is really hard because of how fucking despisable Nazis are. But now I've seen 2 movies on this channel where we've seen Nazis turn their lives around for the better. We saw Schindler do that in Schindler's List, where he helped the Jewish citizens and to the point where they revered him long after. And we saw that now with this, where he turned his life around and used that to help save his brother. Again, even if it did end in tragedy, nonetheless. The acting in this was just great. It was really well done, like on all levels. There were just so many great actors in this who all did their job excellently. Again, for better or for worse, because again, it's really hard seeing these actors like play really well neo-Nazis. It's just a really conflicting feeling. And let me see here. I want to find. Yeah. Ethan Suplee was Seth in this, and he was in Remember the Tights in this. He looks very different more recently. He's lost a lot of weight. Like this movie, let me see, when did this movie come out? 98. And then, let me get back to... I don't think you're going to be able to see this because you usually can't see it from my phone, but let me see if I can try to show you that. And you can see it kind of. That's what he looks like in 2011, so that was still like over 10 years ago now. But it's like, yeah, he's 45 now, mind you, but yeah, he's definitely thinned out, and good for him. Apparently he was also in Clerks 2 and Dogma. He had a recurring role in Boy Meets World, apparently. And apparently he's, according to this, he's actually done other roles where he was like really shitty too. Apparently he was one of 3 men who rape a clown in some movie called Vulgar. I don't know what that is. He was in The Butterfly Effect. I haven't seen that one. He was with Johnny Depp in Blow. Don't know that one. Well, apparently he's in Entourage. That's something I've never seen but know of. Yeah, it seems like he's been in quite a few things. And Remember the Titan. Louis Lastic. That was the character's name. Louis Lastic. Yeah. It was really shocking to see him in there just because of Remember the Titans. Just because of, again, that movie's message. And considering this, he wasn't redeemed. Like, unlike Derek, he was not redeemed. He remained a Nazi skinhead in the end. And it's just like, oh, okay. It's such a different role for him. It's just, it's wild seeing him like that. Because again, and Remember the Titans, he was a nice guy, and although there was some trepidation at first, it's like the movie's entirely about the two sides coming together. Like that's the point of the film. And he was never one of the like really bad ones in that regard. He was kind of he was almost a comic relief type character, but not completely. He was still he was played really well too in that. And Louis Lastic, the character, was like, he was funny, he was entertaining, he was a goofball, and he made good friends with one of the characters. I don't remember the other character's name. But yeah, it's like, I've seen that movie a lot, like many times, and it's like, so when I saw him in this, I'm like looking, I'm like, I feel like I know who you are, but I can't place. And it was because of the role he's playing. It was so out of place for me seeing him like that. Plus, yeah, the facial hair probably did mask it a little bit for me too. It's like I was trying to place it, and again, the part where he was singing on the stage and everything, like he sung before in the movie, earlier in the movie, even if that song was fucked up. But for some reason, him singing at that one point just reminded me of that scene in Remember the Titans where they're singing Ain't No Mountain. I love that scene so much. It's such a great one. But yeah, it's like there's some great, like, just ridiculous moments with his character in that film, and so it's like it was surprising that he was in this. Like, I did not expect that. And yeah, I like the friend he made in prison, though. Even though there was like that one thing where he really got Derek to crack and all, I didn't think that was that funny. Like I didn't I guess I get what he was going for with the joke, but I didn't think it was funny. Like that just doesn't seem like a funny joke to me. Like I don't understand. So it's like, but you could definitely see how their relationship was bettering. Like when they're talking about the basketball teams, the Lakers and the Celtics. It's like, yeah, you could see how much they're connecting, even if their opinions on that are different. And it's like, yeah, opinions on sports and stuff can be different. It's like that doesn't mean you can't be friends. It's like that's an opinion you can have. Someone's right to exist is not a fucking opinion, which he did learn. He did. Um, so it's just interesting to me, and we never really got a lot of the one guy, the leader of the cult. We never got a lot of him. He was really only in there for one scene, and just the rest was talked about. But I guess it wasn't really about that. I think that's kind of the point. This was the story about Derek bettering himself for the sake of his brother. That all was just kind of the context behind how he got so bad in the first place. And it was influenced by his father. Like I said, his father was kind of one of those people who, while not as now what blah, 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 while not a direct extremist who participates in all the like, neo-Nazi rallies and stuff, he's one of those like political idealists who just share that information, that kind of stuff. And it's bad. It's horrible, unquestionably. And like I said in the reaction, it's those kind of people that influence others and bring them into those beliefs. It's those kind of people who create the extremists. Like, you think Hitler started off as this violent extremist? No, that didn't come until later on. Hitler started off as a charismatic speaker, as someone who would just share these views, as fucked up as they were, and he got people on his side by being charismatic, by being smart, by influencing. The violent stuff came later on. Like, a lot of people don't seem to realize that. That stuff only happened after he already had his following. And yeah, some people did flock to him after the fact, of course. But he got a good portion of his following, I'd say most of them, from just the charismatic influence that he started out with. He got people talking, he shared his thoughts and manipulated information in order to get people to say, yeah, you bring up a point. And that's what he was trying to go with. And no matter what, that's still fucking horrible, and that's still fucking disgusting. And the world is a better place without him in it. Or people who think that way. Unquestionably. But at the same time, it's like you just have to realize that a lot of these cults, a lot of these evil ideologies and all, they don't start with the extremists. The extremists are a symptom of the true cause, which is charismatic leaders like this and people who have influence yielding that, wielding it as a weapon to get more people to their side. And we see that in this film with Derek's father. And we see it with Derek. Derek was very much his brother's influence, just like his father was his. So it was a chain of influence that really just screwed up everything. And now Derek has to live with the outcome that he helped foster. And that's the tragedy of this. That's the tragedy of this ending. He helped create it. He was the author of this story just as much as his father was. And he would have to live with that, knowing that it was partially because of him, because of the influence he put on Daniel, because Daniel wanting to be like him. So yeah, it was a very heavy movie, and yes, it was very offensive in a lot of regards, and a lot of what was shown in it was very offensive. And I think it, like, what I've heard people say about it was a little exaggerated, though. It's like, yeah, like, they very much went hard. They didn't hold back on the language and the slurs and everything. But people talk about this film as if it's like the most offensive film out there. Like, it's like just really bad. And it's like, it's really bad, but the message is still like, it still stands out. And it still is teaching a very good thing. It's like, my initial thoughts, like in my pre-thoughts, I was saying like, okay, based on what I've heard of this, is it like satire? Like, oh, it's being purposefully bad to send a message. It's trying to say something, make a statement. And to a degree, it was definitely trying to make a statement. But it wasn't anything like a satire. I don't know where that came from. Just again, on the very little I've heard of it, I guess I just kind of assumed. I just kind of made a... I guess I thought it was going to be more horrifically offensive than it was. Like, my mind had gotten to the point where I thought it was going to be like, they were going to do everything bad, and in the end, nothing was going to be resolved. Everything, like, every bad thing you could imagine was going to be in here, and it's like... it was really offensive in a lot of regards. There, again, a lot of the slurs were being used, a lot of race and a lot of Nazi shit. You saw rape in this. Very graphically violent rape, too. And it's like, yeah, it was bad in a lot of regards, undeniably. But I guess I was just it was weird way to put it, but it was hyped up for me in a certain way, and I feel like it just wasn't as extreme as everyone was kind of trying to say. But it was actually a pretty good movie. It had me invested. I definitely wanted to see where it was going, especially once it started to become clear that Derek had changed. I wanted to see, like, where exactly was that going. I was wondering, like, okay, would he be drawn back in? Would he be brought back into this cult or not? Would he be influenced to do so? Kind of like, like West Side Story. No spoilers there, but there's a connection with that in regards. But would he be, like, maybe influenced to do one more thing with them, and then he's like, okay, one more thing, then I'm out. But no, it didn't go in that direction at all. And again, it actually surprised me in a lot of the directions it went. Like, even when, like, near the end, they come to talk to him and say, like, oh, these guys got, like, critically injured and everything. Your former Nazi buddies and everything. It's like, my instant thought was, oh, God, they blamed him, didn't they? They accused him of doing it to get revenge on him for what he did. But no, it didn't go that direction at all. Instead, it's like, these guys who were just coming to see him, it's like, we want you to talk to them. Maybe try to see if you can change them as well, or at least put a seed in there, a seed of influence. It's like, that is not where I expected that to go at all. And again, just like the shock ending with Daniel's death, I thought Derek was going to be the one to die. I did. So, yeah. It definitely, in that regard, surprised me. And it was good. It was a well-made movie with a important message that very notably disavows Nazism while also showing the horrors of it, and not being afraid to go all out. Like, it did not hold back. It made sure that you understood how bad it was. And that's a good thing. That's what it should do. And it's ridiculous that nowadays there are people who want to censor stuff like this and hide these kind of atrocities, or at least water it down. It's like that is becoming a talking point lately for a lot of different things. most notably the racist past of white people in this regard. Um, it's notable in recent discourse. But I'm not going to get into all of that here. And yeah, again, as I said, the actors did a great job in just all the roles they played. They were very believable, even if it's kind of terrifying how believable they were at times. Um, and the actor who played the teacher, or principal, or whatever, I think he was kind of both. Um, I was definitely interested in that actor too. I'm gonna have to. I'm not gonna check right now, but I'm gonna have to check who that actor was because he carried himself with a certain presence that I really liked. He made me think of Idris Elba, just a more serious Idris Elba that I'm used to because I've seen Idris Elba play some pretty funny roles and all, like in Suicide Squad and everything, and he's done some good voice roles as well. I haven't seen him in a really serious role, I think. Um, but yeah, he kind of made me think of him for a little bit there. Granted, Idris Elba's still hotter, but that's not here or there. um, but yeah, it's like it's really interesting. It was a really interesting, well thought out commentary on this kind of stuff that did not hold back and did not hide the horrors of it. And I appreciate that. Have said it before, I'll say it again. It's like I think that these movies should not hold back on that. As terrible as it sounds to hear those words, as really uncomfortable and everything it makes you, it should. That's the point. You have to understand how uncomfortable and bad that is. That's what they're trying to tell you. And if you don't want to hear that, if you don't want to, you just don't watch the movie, I guess. But at least understand its message. So, yeah, it's not my favorite movie I've seen or anything like that, but I very much did enjoy it and what it was going for. It had its issues here and there. It wasn't perfect, but I was, again, I was invested in it. So thank you to Smurf for donating for that, and for everyone else as well. If you wish at any point in the future and have the ability to, any donation gets you a reward, no matter how big or small. If you donate, you get a reward. You can have me react to a movie, a series, basically whatever you want, as long as I haven't seen it. You can even have a YouTube video as a reward. But it's completely optional. No content will ever be locked behind a paywall on this channel. You'll get to see everything no matter what. It's just an extra way to bring you guys into it and help you guys choose things for me to watch. And it allows me to see some things that I probably would have never seen otherwise, that I probably wouldn't have gotten the chance to check out. And in a lot of cases, that's been great. I've gotten to get introduced to a lot of movies and shows and whatnot that I love now because of you guys suggesting them. Shows like Whack Fu that I would have definitely never seen if you guys hadn't suggested it to me. Granted, that was back on the old channel and everything, back beforehand, and that wasn't with donation rewards. That was well before that time, but still, that was a suggestion from you guys for me to check that out. But yeah, either way, again, it's all optional. If you can't or just don't want to, you don't have to. Again, you will never miss any content on the channel anyway. So, in the meantime, tell me in the comments below, what did you think of American History X? Can you... I was going to say, can you get behind its message as much as I did, but it's like, you damn well should. If you can't get behind its message, you need to do some soul searching if you can't get behind an anti-Nazi message. That's something that everybody should just be instantly behind. But what did you think of how the message was expressed? Let's put it that way. How did you think of how the message was expressed? What do you think of the way it was handled throughout this? And how do you feel about the redemption of this character? Are you conflicted as well, or are you a little more lenient towards redemption, or are you a little more hard about it? Let me know your thoughts on all of that and more down in the comments below, and thank you so much for tuning in. For now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.